Welcome everyone to the clash between two of the most creative and uncompromising players in the modern era of chess. Alireza Firouzja takes on Nepomniachtchi. Alireza enters the playing venue with a green jacket, looking very smart there. Nepomniachtchi in his dark blue jacket comes in, the winner of the last two candidates. And in fact, in the previous candidates, when they faced off against each other in 2022, Nepo had won both the games against Firouzja. However, recently at the Tata Steel Chess, Firouzja had struck back in January and had scored a win against Yan. So they have very fighting games. They both love to fight against each other, and Nepo is arranging all his pieces, adjusting them, and we are about to begin. He's taken off his jacket while Firouzja has still kept it on. Firouzja is just 21 years old, 22 I believe, and he's already playing his second candidates, which is simply phenomenal. They shake their hands and we are ready to rock and roll. What does Nepo do? He opens the game with one e4 and presses the clock. Firouzja instantly responds back with e5, and Nepo brings his knight out to f3. The openings are always interesting to see because they will give shape to the game. What opening will be played here? Will Nepo go for the Italian? No, he goes one step further. He goes for the Spanish opening with his bishop going to b5, and Firouzja is in solid mood today. He plays the Berlin, and Nepo takes a bit of time and plays the anti-Berlin with d3. I want to fight, says Nepo there. Bishop comes out to c5. This is all very standard theory, and Nepomniachtchi has so much experience here. He puts his pawn on c3. He hasn't traded here on c6, which is also a common idea in these setups. Black now castles it out, and even white can simply castle here. That's normal. You can even go for sharp lines with bishop g5, but today Nepo castles it. It's a good move. Now what is Firouzja's plan going to be? d6? No, he goes for d5, the most direct way to play here. Pawn takes pawn. I always enjoy watching Nepo's expressions. He's so expressive on the board. Queen comes out on d5. It looks black's position is really good. But the thing to note here is that after bishop c4, the queen is slightly awkwardly placed because, if you go queen d6, there's b4. The bishop can no longer go back. So he goes queen d8. And Nepo hits the bishop with b4. All options are possible. You can go here, you can go here, you can go here. So let's see what Firouzja chooses. He comes back to e7. Now always remember, winning the pawn with b5, knight a5 and knight takes e5 is never a good idea because you will lose your very important bishop on c4. So knight d2 is a good move here, and a6 played by Firouzja, stopping all plans of b5. Nepo further expands on the queen side. Someday he would like to go b5. Right now it's not possible because the rook on a1 is hanging, but you know what, with this a4 pawn coming up, it frees the space for the queen to go there. And look at this, queen c2 played, and this is very interesting. The move a4 prepares queen a2 in some lines. Now the knight comes out to d5, and you can see that black has a very nice idea of putting the knight to f4, putting pressure on the d3 pawn. That's the reason why Nepo puts his knight in the center. Firouzja goes bishop g4 attacking here. You can move this knight e1, but then that won't be in the spirit of the position. So Nepo goes queen e2, queen a2. If you take here, he would like to take the knight in the center of the board. So that's the reason why Firouzja moves his knight away and attacks the bishop. Now this bishop has to move, so it goes back to b3. But look at what has just happened now. This is still preparation by both sides. Nepo has 1 hour 50 minutes, Firouzja has 1 hour 55 minutes, and they are following a game between Durarbay Livasif, if I am not mistaken. He's played this bishop takes f3, g takes f3. Now not only has white mangled his pawns, he's also giving another pawn up in the game. I think Rothstein had gone queen d7 there, but Firouzja is bold, he's well prepared, he takes here, and he's now threatening the pawn on f3. King g2 played, defending the pawn, and guys, rook d1 will trap the queen here. So the queen moves back to d7, and Nepo comes back. He still has 1 hour 49 minutes. Firouzja has 1 hour 51 minutes. Amazing preparation shown by both sides, and now places his rook to d1. The queen has to go back to e8. It's also possible to go actively on f5, but maybe the queen is slightly exposed there after knight g3. So that's the reason why now the choice is between going to e8 or f5, and Firouzja takes 13 minutes and plays his queen to e8. Nepo is maybe also out of prep now. He has to think. A good logical move is to strike the center with f4, but he pushes h pawn. He also thought for around 10 minutes there, pushes his pawn to h4. Notice if you get greedy and snatch this pawn after rook h1 and queen c2, it's a deadly mating attack here with the queen, rook, bishop and knight. So you can't really take this pawn. It's not a hanging pawn. So Firouzja now tries to figure out what to do. This is such a weird position, guys. If you look at it carefully, this battery is so powerful. Firouzja is trying to move his knight. He realizes his knight on b6 is not very active. So he goes knight c8 with the idea of rerouting the knight to d6. That is his plan. And what does Nepo do? He pushes forward. He goes h5. We are on move number 20. They are well prepared, so they made a lot of moves, but I think every move, the weight of it is so high now. King h8 played, trying to free up the pawn to go to f5. That is the idea now. And Nepo has to be careful, because not only is black a pawn up, white's kingside is also broken, so he must do something about it. h6 is played. I was also wondering, instead of king h8, if black could have just played his pawn to h6, but he did this, h6, and now Firouzja pushes his pawn to g5. Next move, f5, is also an idea to push the knight away. So what do you do here? Queen comes to d2, attacking this pawn. By the way, taking the pawn was not possible because of rook g8 pinning here. The queen wants to enter on d7, it seems. That's the reason why queen d2 has been played, but it's not particularly a great move there. And Firouzja brings his knight to d6. Nepo plays bishop b2, and now the knight comes to f5. The knight is well positioned on f5, but actually instead of playing that, he could have here played his pawn to f6, kept the d file closed, because the moment he's played his knight to f5, Nepo moves in with queen to d7. The queen has moved into d7, and now the knight is hanging here. Need to be careful. This bishop is just an epic monster. If it opens up, Nepo's king is in big trouble. So a check comes in. Now Jan Nepomniachtchi has to move his king. The king cannot go to g3. That would be a mistake because of this classy move knight d4, breaking contact. And if you take here, I have an intermezzo check, king back, and then taking here. So clearly you can't go up with your king. You need to go downwards, but where exactly is the question. And Nepo taking his time here, 49 minutes on the clock. He takes a minute, plays his king to f1. Well, for Firouzja, it's a question whether he should take the queen or not, because once he takes it, white's rook gets very active. So he would prefer that white takes his queen and his rook gets developed to a good square. what's the plan now? He goes knight takes f3, f5, knight g3, and knight takes f3 has been taken by Alireza Firouzja. And Nepo pushes his pawn to b5. Now this knight has to move, but where exactly? It's not so simple, because the moment you move your knight, c4 would come in, so f4 first. If you take this, I take this, and I open up my rook. So Nepo decides to save his knight and brings it to the center of the board. Now the knight on c6 needs to move, but actually there's also queen h5, queen h1 ideas there. He goes knight a5, first attacking the bishop. Well, bishop a2 seems like a plan with the idea of c4. We've been talking about this bishop opening up. That would be insanely strong. But Nepo goes bishop to e6. And he gives that look to Firouzja. Says, what are you doing, my friend? It's not so simple. And now Alireza needs to find this move g4, which is the best move, but instead he goes queen g6, and that's a mistake. It's a big error. The reason being, he's now given up a piece. Queen takes e7, and he's down to 4 minutes on the clock with 11 moves to make. Nepo takes it. Queen takes h6 because the mate had to be prevented, and now bishop f7, stopping the rook from coming to e8. That's the plan. And Firouzja goes in with a check. Well, all moves were quite difficult. Queen h1 was also possible, but White's king now starts to run away. He goes king e2, and after queen f5, which is a double attack on the bishop and the knight, Nepo pulls his bishop back to d5, defending the knight there. And already Firouzja is in a lost position. He's a piece down. He brings his rook very quickly with just, and you can see him, he knows that he's lost the game. He's attacked the queen, but Nepo's position is so solid. He's now going to snatch off the c7 pawn as well, which means that his bishop knight remain very solid. He takes it, and queen g4 played, pinning here. This is, you have to be very careful because it's tricky still, but Nepo has 16 minutes to work out the details, which is a lot of time. So he goes king d3. He improves his king's position. Yes, there could be a pin here, but the good news is that you can push your pawn, which does two things: supports the bishop and also opens up this bishop's path. So c4 played, and now he takes on d5. Alireza Firouzja, does he have some tactics in mind? Jan Nepomniachtchi just looks at his opponent and says, that doesn't seem very strong. He takes and plays queen h3. Now, you could take this pawn on e5, but then knight e5 comes with a check. So you want to first move your king away. But if you go king c2, then rook c8, you might lose your queen there. So that's also winning after d6, but knight g3 is such a cool move. The point is that after you take here, he wants to play bishop takes e5, and that's a very nice line. Like if you take here, bishop e5 is winning. So he plays knight c4, he takes, and now the knight is taken once the queen has been deflected. But Nepo now chops off the pawn. A takes on b5. There are many ways to win here. He takes back with the pawn. If you now take queen takes g3, then now the king can safely move away and is very safe on the c2 square. So that's the reason why Firouzja has to find something to keep this going. He's already a rook down. That's a lot of material disadvantage. He goes rook c8 to attack the queen, and now the queen has to move away, so goes rook h1. Ooh, I thought he had to move his queen, but now rook h1 is such a cool move. If you take here, I can first take on c8 with a check, and I'm winning. He goes queen d7 back. but now he's just a rook down. When Alireza starts to make moves with the left hand, you know that he has kind of given up there, and Nepo being very accurate. And this is what I like about the candidates tournament. Every win is so important and critical that players really want to not spoil it in any way possible. Now if queen takes b5, there is king e3, and then there's a mate here on h7. So the move played is king g8, and king e3 is a safe and solid move that can be made here. But Nepo goes, yes, he plays king e3, finds it, the knight is attacked, it has to move, it goes knight to d4. And next up, I think you can simply take on d4, pawn takes, you don't even need that pawn, you can just move your king away. And it's resignation time there for Alireza Firouzja. Let's hear what the players have to say. A completely crazy and amazing game played by both of them.
Bishop to e2, not bishop to 6 because bishop to 6. And bishop to 6 is very unclear at some point. Maybe you could play like queen h1, knight g1, queen e4 check, queen g1, queen e4 check, king f1, and maybe queen f5 here.
I should have something here.
I don't know. I don't remember anything after queen e8 because it's like it says like very probably. Like,
Bishop e3.
it's some zeros, but it's like I mean okay, it's nice for white. I can tell it. It's like you just push.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think h4 is good.
Yeah, h4 is everywhere. Like it's one of the lines. Like I mean, just h4 and just play position.
I should not play
because
knight
okay,
f5.
I thought like queen c2, then f instead of queen d2, but then f5. And queen d2 is such a bad move, I think. Like queen d2. But I wanted queen c2, but then f5, knight g3, knight d6,
Yeah.
and queen g6, and queen d2 somehow I sort of...
Queen g4 I had to go.
Wait, when exactly?
Knight d6, what you played?
Knight d6, bishop d2.
g4.
Yeah, here, okay, I just wanted to, I already wanted to draw it. And maybe knight takes d6, yeah. Gf,
Yes.
king f3.
Yes, cg.
Yeah, it's fine, like, you know, after bishops, bishop goes on d5, g5 is open. It's very unclear, but maybe it's like nice compensation.
Yeah, I mean, I have f5, queen h5.
But g4, I don't have f5, okay. No, but queen d2 should just bet. But you shouldn't, I think, like knight f5, queen d7 is unclear.
I
You
missed
wanted queen
everything.
d7?
No, I missed everything. Like,
No, because like queen d7, I thought maybe I'm not worse again, because like...
no,
I mean,
you're not worse here.
but then you maybe take rook c8, and then if b5 and knight b8. I mean, it should be okay for me, like optically, but I couldn't see, like, I couldn't roll it. No, because g5, like, it's such a ridiculous move. I thought, like, wow, I'm winning positionally. I wanted, like, queen c2, then knight f6, queen f5, and bishop c2. Like, you call it some brilliancy. But queen c2, you play f5, and it doesn't work. Maybe you should play rook g1, but then f6. I couldn't find the move, yeah.
No, g5 is good move for sure.
Yeah, g5, okay, if it works, it's brilliant, yeah.
Yeah.
And because okay, queen d2, I just panicked because okay, I didn't like maybe queen b2, and then b5.
Yeah, I saw queen b2.
It's queen b2 like
f5, huh?
I thought maybe queen e2, but then okay, f5, yes, f5 maybe knight g3, maybe just play like this, queen c2, f5, knight g3, knight g6, bishop b2, like normal position, yeah, like play it normally. And then it should be about equal, yeah, like then okay, then I go b5, some sacrifice something, maybe some rook d5, but okay, queen d2, like okay, after queen d7, I suddenly became optimistic because. I don't think it's too bad if like knight e4, f4 maybe like if bishop d6 when I'm in time to play like b5, b6 or c4,
you should not
c5.
go knight f5, yeah? I mean...
No, knight e5 is principal, but after queen d7 maybe you should be careful, yeah, like...
Couldn't see what you were here. f5, knight g3. f4, knight e4.
Yes. Yeah, f4 I also had knight f5, but I don't know.
No, knight f5, I'm okay, I have to draw, I think.
But knight e4 like queen h5 doesn't work, yeah, it doesn't give you a draw.
I couldn't make it work.
Like, b takes c6, yeah, queen h1, king d2, maybe queen h5 here. But then okay, then I can take on e7 and on d4 check, I go back. No, I can't go to f1. Maybe this was the move. Queen h1, king d2, queen h5. And if king d3, then okay, but rook e8, maybe I can go, maybe I can just run with my king, yeah, and then okay, take on d7 some initiative. But maybe that's
This
unclear.
is okay.
This is okay, I think. Maybe you should have done this, yeah. Yeah, queen h1, queen h5, yeah, very strong. Suddenly. I don't see like how can I, okay, king f1, but
How can I miss this?
no, this is, I mean, it's not like nothing works, but not everything works, of course.
Queen h5?
Yeah, looks like draw, yeah. Maybe queen maybe queen d3, but it's like dangerous, yeah. Maybe, I mean, queen d3 is
No, check and I take this bishop.
yes, and then I take on b7.
No, I take bishop with check.
No, I don't go. If I go king e1,
Check,
king d2,
check,
king c2,
check.
takes. Okay, queen h6, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a draw, yeah. But also I could play after knight e5, maybe bishop a2 was precise. Because you had this queen h6 sacrifice, but with bishop on e2 nothing works for you, like bishop a2, like my bishop, okay, an extra tempo. So I had to play this bishop f7, which I didn't like, but... Okay. Today for draws, today for... Oh, okay.